Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake on YouTube, and what we're going to make is a sugar cookie or a Polish cookie. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name of it because I'm afraid that I'm not going to say it right, but I will have it above in the title of the cookie. This particular recipe, I was told my grandmother used to make a lot, and in fact, it is such an old recipe. I don't know if you can even see how toned the pages are on this recipe, okay? And it's actually in measurements of ounces rather than cups. So what I did was I basically used my scale and weighed everything and then transferred it to figure out, you know, what cups needed and the measurements and that kind of thing. So you can either measure your ingredients, because I'm going to give you both, or like I did and break them down into cups, okay? I no longer will have the recipe below the video. I want to tell you that right up front. So if you think you're going to like this recipe, you might want to jot it down, and I'll try to go through clearly and slowly enough that if you are taking notes on it, you're going to be able to write it down. Now, I was told that my grandmother would actually make these in a mixing bowl and a knife. But I, of course, found an easier way of doing it, and I'm just going to use my chopping blade on my processor. But you can certainly do it by hand if you want. What you want to do is you want to start off with 3/4 of a cup of butter. Now, the recipe is written for 6 ounces of butter, and like I said, I weighed it, and then I figured out the measurement, that kind of thing. So I'm using 3/4 of a cup of butter right now. I've cut it up into small pieces because it's easier to break up into cream. Okay. Next up, you're going to put in 1/3 cups of granulated sugar plus 1 tablespoon. Again, 1/3 cup of granulated sugar plus 1 tablespoon, which is 3 ounces weight, if you're going to measure it up that way. Okay, and then I'm just going to turn this on, and I'm going to keep it going till it starts to come together. Okay, I'm going to warn you about the sound. Okay, the next thing we're going to put in is all-purpose flour, and I'm putting in 1 2/3 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'm just putting it all in, plus 1 teaspoon. So let me repeat that again. I'm putting in 1 2/3 cups plus 1 teaspoon of all-purpose flour. Okay? And that's really, the recipe said 9 ounces of flour. The next thing I'm going to put in is a teaspoon of vanilla. I guess she actually used to use a vanilla bean and slice it down and then put it in the sugar ahead of time to flavor the sugar. But I went ahead and just put the vanilla in 1 teaspoon. Okay, and now we're going to wait till it comes to be a crumbly stage, till it becomes a cookie dough. And it shouldn't take you very long at all. You can pulse it if you feel that that's what you'd rather do. I don't know if you can see or not, but it's becoming very crumbly. And now I just want to get to the bottom of it a little bit. because it still needs to form. Now you can take this out and then just start forming it with your hands, but I'm going to just leave it just a little bit longer here. And as you can see, it's starting to make that cookie ball, cleaning the whole sides of the processing bowl. Okay, so I'm going to take that out. There's one, some of that, it's kind of stuck down there. Okay, there we go. And the rest of that. What I like about it, you don't really waste anything, you know, you get everything out of there. Okay, and then let me set this aside because it's in the way right now. Okay. All right, so then you've got a nice cookie dough here. I'm going to take off one of my gloves. I'm still healing some broken fingers here. So you can see this nice cookie ball. Now you can also refrigerate it for 20 minutes or 30 minutes if you prefer. I've done it both and I think they come out just as good. And then just take a little bit of flour on your countertop or board or wherever you are. I try not to use a lot of flour. And you can use any type of cookie cutter that you like, or a bottom of a glass if you don't have a cookie cutter. Okay, and I'm just going to grab a little piece of it. Now you use a, you know, a bigger piece of it and roll it out with a rolling pin. But I'm just using my small little roller today, being that I'm, you know, kind of working with one hand rather than two. Now, roll it out to about 1/4 of an inch. She used to, I was told, made them quite thin. And I'm just using this size today. It's about, you know, the size of a bottom of a glass. Now, you don't have to grease your pan or anything like that, but if you want to use your, you know, your parchment paper, you know, feel free. Or your, I just can't think of the Teflon, you know what I'm talking about, the mats, the baking mats. You can go ahead. Now, if you do refrigerate it, it's a little bit easier, you know, to pick up. It's not quite as soft. Now, this is really a good recipe, too, if some folks that don't want to have a cookie with eggs or you know, or any type of like baking powder or baking soda, that kind of thing. Okay, so, and then just space them, you know, a couple inches apart. Now I get about 24 cookies out of this recipe. Okay. So I'm going to set that aside. And then I always have a little smaller cutter for the scraps, the end of the cookie dough ball, so I don't really waste any, you know. Now you're going to bake these at 375, and they really can take you anywhere from, oh gosh, 12 to 15 minutes. You know, our oven's set up so differently, so it's hard to say, but most of us know what our you know, our ovens are like in baking. Mine came up quite quick. I'm sorry. They did not take all that 15 minutes. They really didn't. And then once they come out of the oven, you know, put them on a cooling rack. Now I'm just going to rinse my one hand here quickly. Even though I'm not working with any raw eggs, but okay. Now I'm going to show you what they look like without any topping on them. They will be light in color, but a light golden brown on the bottom. I hope you can see that. Okay, it is a hard finished cookie. When you break it though, it's a semi-moist. It's not a real chewy cookie, but it's not real dense and really, what's the word that I'm looking for? You know, really, you know, hard, because there's still that inside has a, you know, a bit of a bite to it, you know, when you bite into it. So, but it is a firm cookie. I don't want you to think it's a chewy cookie. A lot of people like chewy cookies, so I don't want to misrepresent that. And then you go ahead and you will just, you know, sprinkle powdered sugar over the tops, and they'll come out and look like this. And now I recall they told me sometimes my grandmother would actually just, you know, plop them in a bowl. But if you know, sift over them, I think they look a little bit better and a little bit more, you know, eye appeal, that kind of thing. That shows you the top and the bottom. They are really delicious cookies. I wouldn't say they're a real sugary cookie, but boy, these are great with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or that kind of thing. Now on the Polish name of the cookies, I believe the Polish word means cookie or biscuit. So please don't write to me and correct my Polish, because like I said, I'm not affluent in understanding the Polish language. But I wanted to try this recipe because in relationship that my grandmother used to make these, I guess, all the time. So I hope you try this sugar cookie. If you do and you liked it, well, leave a comment, because I'd like to hear from you. I'd also like to remind you to please solely watch me on YouTube, because it's the only place that I put my videos on. And the reason I don't list the recipe anymore, and I'm not alone on this, that's for sure, but I don't want to continue to see my work on other sites that have been pinned and posted and taken as theirs. And it's very frustrating when you write a comment and I find my work somewhere else and I can't answer you. So if you do watch me on YouTube, when you write to me, I'm going to get your question or your comment or your concern, and I will answer you in a timely fashion. So I want to thank you for watching Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. And you know what? I'll see you soon. Be safe